I started my career background working sort of for an SEO company that sold a solution into the SMB market here in Australia. The product itself wasn't very sophisticated, and after a while, I sort of started to understand a little bit more about SEO than the people that actually developed the product, and decided that selling a product that wasn't adding value to people wasn't something that I particularly wanted to do. Especially when we were generally selling to it was B2B, but it was more sort of blue collar and smaller businesses, and they weren't getting much value out of the product, and we're signing them up for sort of 10K a year type deals. And for them, that was quite a bit of money. And so I couldn't bring myself to actually sell that product anymore. And I decided that it was time for a change. I had a few friends that were working in agency recruitment, and they thought I'd be a good addition to the team. So I started talking to them, and I ended up working sort of in agency recruitment, which, as you're probably aware, can be a very sort of heavy sales role. So we were doing sort of 60 to 70 outbound calls per day, building our desk from scratch, as well as managing the candidate side of things. I kind of did pretty well in that, and I really liked that as a role, to be honest. It was one of, I guess, probably a defining role for me, because I was able to sort of understand a few things, like activity breeds success, as well as just being able to take ownership of a particular aspect of a business, almost running my own desk kind of thing. So it kind of got me sort of a little bit exposed to the idea that I can just do things by myself. And then after that, I ended up working in sales for a digital marketing agency. And then after that, I decided that I wanted to move out and do my own thing. So I started my own marketing agency. We did quite well. We ended up securing sort of national deals with HelloFresh and also ING Direct. So we're doing all their superannuation marketing nationally for their digital products. So that was going on pretty well. And then I actually got approached. So the reason that I started Trigger was I got approached for a country manager role for a Sequoia-backed startup. And so I built a go-to-market strategy out for them based off data. So they had no data here in Australia because they were looking to expand to the market. And so they wanted an idea of how they would progress through to the ANZ market. And I was actually able to go away and have a look at Quantcast, BuiltWith, and a few other tools to see where they were actually winning deals. And so I went to all the companies in which they were winning deals internationally. And then I built out a benchmark of what a technology stack looks like for a company that uses, the company was called Appia. And I built out a benchmark of what a company that uses Appia looks like. And I brought that model back to Australia, and I said, okay, because we have no data here on Appia, I'm able to say, okay, well, we have companies that look similar to the ones that use the data over internationally. So I built out a go-to-market strategy based around the top 200 companies that look like they should potentially use Appia here in Australia. Got all the buyer personas ready to go, and then started getting emails, phone numbers, that kind of stuff, and then presented it to them, and they loved it. And I decided that I should probably not pursue the role and actually build a product that facilitates that kind of thinking. And so that's kind of how Trigger was born. And the first version of it was literally just a lookalike tool. Trigger is a SaaS platform. What it is that we do is we collect data from the public web, and we use that data to make predictions around where salespeople should be spending their time. And we do this by sort of looking at what is a trigger event. And so for those watching this that don't understand the concept of a trigger event as it pertains to sales, we're talking about an event that moves a person outside of the status quo and creates a sales conversation. So if you're selling, let's say you're selling Salesforce CRM, and someone that has used Salesforce CRM in a senior sales role moves to a company that's not using Salesforce CRM, that would be a trigger event for you to talk to them. However, our product is a little bit more than just that example specifically. And it's kind of like you come to us and you say, okay, these are the trigger events that we want to look for. And our platform will monitor the public web for occurrences of those trigger events, and then give you the contact details of the people that are important to that trigger event, as well as the context to open the conversation for the sales reps. Kind of where we're going forward is a little bit even more intense. We're looking at sort of building, I guess it's kind of like an Einstein for the public web. So the idea is that we'll plug into your CRM system, and then our algorithm will be able to predict what has happened over the past 2 years to drive results within your organization, and then look for more companies that meet that criteria. So our algorithm will just feed up suggestions of companies and people that you should be talking to. We're also mapping IP ranges of these businesses as well, so that you can plug the IP ranges into a DSP and start marketing to companies that should be in your should be in the buyer's journey at the moment. So yeah, lots of sort of stuff happening with the product at the moment. I think from a career advice perspective, I haven't really had too many people actually tell me what to do. I've always been pretty headstrong and just decided to do whatever it is that I wanted to do, and probably how I ended up in sort of an entrepreneurial role. I'd say the best thing that's happened for me is understanding what I don't want to get in a role, and what I don't want out of a manager. And so a lot of the companies that I've worked for have had very subpar management, which made me realize very quickly that I'm more than capable of doing the role of these people, and I don't need to actually sit back and work in a role where I have to listen to mid-level managers tell me what to do, because I can just go out there and do it myself. And so I've been I haven't had a traditional role for, it's been almost, say, 8-9 years now. I've just been working for myself and loving it. But career advice-wise, I haven't really had any. I don't know. I feel like the progression of my career has been kind of, it's been really good, because I've been able to learn the skills that kind of supplement my background. So I come from a computer science background, so I've always been able to build things. And then learning about sales and marketing as I've gone on through my career has just sort of supplemented that to the point where if I want to build something, I can build it. And then if I want to market it and sell it, then I can go out there and do that as well. So the skill set that I've learned throughout my career has been very helpful. So if I could go back in time and talk to myself and say, hey, what should you know? I would just say keep doing what you're doing, and you'll end up on the right path. Hopefully, I wouldn't really consider myself there yet as far as like a traditional startup goes, but we're definitely on the right trajectory. Yeah, we've made so many mistakes along the way. I mean, as a startup founder, specifically for this business, I think in terms of the agency that I did prior to this, I think there was a time where we probably could have called it a little bit earlier. So we went from doing we were doing a lot of revenue. We had months where we were doing sort of 200K a month and splitting it between three of us in profit. And then we had months where we lost both of our key clients within a 2-week period. And my friend decided that was the time for him to pull up stumps and move into a new role. And I decided that I would push through and try and make it work. It probably wasn't the best thing to do. And then as far as the startup side of things go, I think making mistakes is part of what makes a business, right? Like if you're not making mistakes, then you're not making decisions. So I think just get out there and make mistakes. But I can't even begin to talk about the mistakes that I've made as a startup founder. I mean, like we've spent money on the wrong things. We've built on tech stacks that have created a lot of tech debt. We've had to refactor code, but all of it, we've even sold products to companies that I feel really bad about. So like this is another thing that I feel really passionate about as well within the startup space, is that it's very hard to raise capital in the Australian market unless you have access to good networks or an exit. And so for us, we've had to justify our presence by selling product, and the product that we've sold traditionally hasn't been up to the point where we wanted to actually sell it into organizations, but we've had to do so to justify raising money and in hindsight, if I could go back, I probably would do the exact same thing because we had to. But if the market was a little bit better and people were able to actually understand what it is that startups are trying to do and their vision actually gave people a chance, then it would be a little bit different. So yeah, I've made plenty of mistakes and done things that I'm not particularly proud of as a startup founder, but they've all been done in order to get us to where we are today, and we've kind of had to do it. I would say like we're doing pretty well. Like we're in a phase where we're doing sort of tens of thousands in monthly recurring revenue. I think sort of last month we actually did about 48K, which is pretty good. So as a startup, I would say we're doing quite well. Keys to success. There have been so many times where I've been sort of at my desk crying, I've broken keyboards. Like we've been in situations where I've just been like wanting to pull up stumps. Like the start of COVID was a particularly stressful time for us. We lost a fundraising round. We lost huge key clients off the back of it, which we're still pursuing now. But in many ways, we've made up a lot of the revenue that we lost during that COVID period. I would say the three things that I would look for in a founder that I think are good qualities within myself is tenacity, just to continue. Even when things are down, it seems like as long as you just push through and obviously have a product that people like and can get value out of, then things will get better is one. Two is extreme action bias. So if you have ideas, I'm the kind of person that's a little bit of a gunslinger, so that if I have something that I want to do or I think of an idea, then it's the kind of thing that's going to be implemented within our product in the next 2 weeks. And I think that's very important, whether it comes to sort of sales or the product side of things, is that you need to be able to make decisions very quickly. And like I said before, they might be the wrong ones. And in many cases, like I said before, they have been the wrong ones. But I think unless you if you're not making decisions, you're not moving forward. So I think that is another one. And then I would say for me particularly, I'm not the best leader. So I think it's good to be able to delegate tasks where you know that you're not particularly strong in. So I've got a really good co-founder in Tom, and he's been very helpful in handling parts and aspects of the business where I'm not strong. And I've also been very good at building out frameworks for bringing on people that can handle things that I'm not particularly good at, whether it be sort of virtual assistants, programmers, people that are good at copywriting, that kind of thing. So I think those are the three things that I would look for in a founder, that if I was going to invest in a business, and I think those have definitely been helpful in making us successful.